Rode microphones are the official microphones of BeTerrific. Find out more at rodemic.com.
Welcome to the Michael Artsis Show. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm excited today. First of all, I was in the city all day, went to Streaming Media East. That was an interesting show, a good show. Met up with the folks from Facebook. We played Mario Kart on Wii. That was super cool. I'll tell you all about that later. In addition, the Rangers take on the Capitals. Game 7 tonight at Madison Square Garden. Can't wait to dig into that a little bit. I was going to wear my Ranger jersey, but I had meetings all day, and then I was going to take it, and I forgot it. And I was going to stop on the way home at the studio, but then I didn't think I'd get here on time. And then I regretted that decision, and then I got stuck in traffic anyway. Now I'm really disappointed I don't have the Ranger jersey, at least here with me. It's become like my safety blanket. It felt good in my hand, if not wearing it. All right, there are plenty of ways to reach us. First of all, you can join our Slack chat. All you have to do is send us an email, connect@beterrific.com. We'll send you an invite to join Slack, and you can join the many people in our Slack chat. If you want to wait a couple days, we're going to put an email collection bucket kind of thing on our website so that you can just enter in your email and get a Slack invitation. That'll be super awesome. We'd like you to all join our Slack chat. We're loving that. We think it's better than our IRC or our web chat, though those are still open as well. Go to beterrific.com/live for those. In addition to that, you can reach us on Twitter and Instagram @BeTerrificTV. And of course, you can email us, connect@beterrific.com. The cell phone number here, listen to me. The phone number here, 201-735-7711, 201-735-7711. All right, we've got a great guest on today. I don't want to waste any time getting to this guy. He's a Hugo-Nominated editor. He's an author. He's done a million other things. He writes all sorts of sci-fi and fantasy books. He's got a new book coming out in November that's got an amazing cover. We're going to talk about that. Of course, he writes children's books as well, dinosaur books. So Jack would love this. I think I got to get a couple of these books. You've got an Abraham Lincoln dinosaur book, and you've got a dinosaur joke book. Bryan Thomas Schmidt is joining us from, I forget where you're from. All I know is it's Ottawa, but it's not Ottawa, Canada. It's like Ottawa, Nebraska.
No, it's Ottawa, Kansas, actually.
Kansas, I was close.
Kansas, just a
Nebraska.
little bit more south. You know, now you're making me wish I wore my Ranger jersey.
Yes. Are you a Rangers fan?
I am a Rangers fan. I could have brought I'm a huge hockey fan.
How are you a Rangers fan?
I just have always liked the Rangers. I was a Blues fan. That's where I grew, got into hockey in St. Louis. So I was a season ticket holder and all that for a while. And I started collecting jerseys, and I've gone out to New York and seen the Rangers and some other teams play. So I just kind of enjoy the sport and wearing the different jerseys and cheering on my teams.
Do you have a favorite arena? My favorite arena in all of sports, I promise you, it's not just because I'm a Ranger fan, is Madison Square Garden. I feel that if you see a playoff hockey or basketball game there is no place more electric. And I loved Shea Stadium. I thought Yankee Stadium, the old Yankee Stadium, was amazing. Both new ballparks are a little too sanitary for me. Giant Stadium is still good, and I've been all around the country to all sorts of other stadiums. I love Lucas Oil Stadium. I think it's gorgeous. I've been to Lambeau Field, unbelievable. But to me, there is no place like Madison Square Garden for watching a sporting event, whether it's boxing or it's basketball or tennis or hockey, which is my favorite, of course.
Frankly, I wish I'd been to Madison Square Garden. I've been to New York. I've never made it there, so I can't speak to that. But I can tell you that for me, the most electric experiences I had was when I was living in LA and went to the Dodger Stadium. There's something about that place.
Yeah.
You know, it's on a hill above the city, and it's just, you drive up this winding path. It's really a magical place. Plus, there's all, of course, the history of the team. Lasorda was there at the time, so it was just pretty magical. I mean, I love going to sporting events anyway, but it's just something special.
What is your favorite sport?
Probably hockey or soccer.
Yes, hockey. All right, and did you play hockey growing up?
Oh God, no. I'm like I got my hands and feet are like distant cousins, not on speaking terms. I have no coordination whatsoever. So
I like that. So I will say this: the thing about Madison Square Garden that makes it so special to me is not that the venue is pretty, because it's not pretty. Although they've redone it, it's pretty nice now. It's really the atmosphere. I've never been to another place. I actually almost feel like it's ruined the fan watching experience at other arenas. You go to any other arena, I swear, in all the sports, and it's not as loud or as ruckus. There's not the vibe there. And so when you leave New York and you go watch at like Staples Center, or you go watch at Indianapolis, or you go watch, I've been in Orlando to watch the Magic play. There isn't that electricity that you find in New York. And maybe it's a New York thing, I don't know, because certainly I did reference Shea and Yankee Stadium, and then City and Yankee Stadium. But I think that there's something really special about Madison Square Garden. So when you get to New York the next time, you have to find a way to get a ticket to a game and go watch there.
I'll try. I'll definitely try. You know, I think there are certain cities that have kind of that Magic fandom thing. You know, like St. Louis has amazing sports fans, very loyal, very dedicated, and just very enthusiastic, well-behaved. I think you have that in New York. You have it in Chicago. A few cities that really, really have that down. So I have no doubt that that what you're saying is true, because I think New York's one of those cities. Yeah. Of course, you've got the divided Mets versus Yankees thing too. But I mean, you know, there's such a long tradition in New York too that everybody ties into, and you can't help feel it when you go to one of the games. You know, you think about all the people who've played and all the different, you know, even though teams have moved and come and gone, it's just something special.
Yes, absolutely. You couldn't have said that better. It is something special. Bryan, talk to me about Mission Tomorrow. This is your newest book. It's coming out in November. If you go to Amazon now, you can see the cover, which is stunning. It's a sci-fi book, clearly. Talk about the book.
Mission Tomorrow is an anthology. It's of stories by, I think there's 17 stories total, or no, 19. And basically the concept was, with NASA no longer dominating space travel, what is space travel going to look like in the near future? So basically I said, you know, write me stories where NASA's not the only game in town. You can have NASA in it, but what if it was private space travel or corporate space travel? You know, there's all kinds of possibilities now that NASA has been kind of relegated to a lesser role. Although, you know, NASA's certainly doing their thing, and I'm a big NASA fan. It was not in any way a denigration to NASA. It was just looking at other things, because for the longest time, of course, NASA was the biggest game in town. And now we have kind of a different field.
NASA was really the only game in town in the United States. I mean, obviously, there are other programs throughout the world, but NASA kind of was the only game in town for the United States. And then that's changed in recent years, and now NASA isn't really at the point sending up rockets, although I think that will change. They're loading stuff on other people's rockets. I think that will change, though. How long did it take to put this together?
I want to say I sold it a year ago. I turned it in last November. So I probably sold it in October or November before that, and it took about a year for the writers to write, and then I put the stories together, something like that.
So this is,
and then
the thing that's interesting here is you're the editor, you're kind of the conceptualist and then the editor of it, but you're not necessarily the writer of it, but you do write books. And so is it hard to not want to write the whole book? I mean, it's kind of nice. It's kind of like your baseball team.
I write an introduction,
yeah,
and I tell a story by how individual stories, so they kind of have a theme and a flow to them. Not really. I mean, when I'm writing my own thing, that's kind of a different process than the editing thing. And one of the reasons I got into doing anthologies is that I like working with other people, and I like helping other people have opportunities. So I was creating opportunities for myself, but also for other writers, including some of my favorite writing heroes, like, you know, Robert Silverberg, who's in the, I've got James Gunn. These are legends, you know, and Dr. Ben Bova. There's all kinds of really people that I get to work with, and I get to bring in new and upcoming writers and help them have a chance to be in books with those people and get their work exposed. So for me, doing anthologies is really what I enjoy about it, is that collaboration more than thinking it. When I'm doing a novel, I'd really want to work by myself.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're a team. I mean, the reality is,
exactly,
you know, you're like a baseball team.
Yeah, it's just fun. The other one I just did is going to come out during the Rio Olympic Games, and it's an Olympic anthology called Galactic Games, and it's got a bunch of great sports stories. So I mean, and so that really captured the team feel. It very much is a team when you do an antho.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so we have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have a whole lot more with Bryan Thomas Schmidt, to be exact. We're going to talk about all his other books. We're going to talk about the Hugo nomination, and of course, we'll talk about children's books. We may even talk about tech with him, because he seems like he's super into tech, and we've already talked sports. So we'll be back with a whole lot more right after this on the Michael Artsis Show. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Michael Artsis Show. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us and staying with us. We've got Bryan Thomas Schmidt on, and he is in Kansas. He's in Ottawa, Kansas, believe it or not. And that should be Ottawa, Canada, but it's Ottawa, Kansas. He's an author, an editor extraordinaire. We've been talking about Mission Tomorrow. It's an anthology book that he put together that's coming out in November, available on pre-order on Amazon now. He's got a ton of other stuff he's done too. Bryan, let's talk a little bit about your children's books. You write children's books. How did you write children's books? How did you get into that? I kind of think it's a great idea. On the other hand, I have a kid. He's 23 months old. I want to get him these books now that I know about them. But on the other hand, it seems like there's so much competition in the children's book space. It seems like everybody's got a child's book.
Truthfully, yeah, my children's books are not like big sellers at this point. We're trying to build up the reputation on them. People seem to like them when they get them, but I've been working with a small press, and he brought me in to do it for him. And so it's kind of a learning curve for both of us. So, but he hired me to do the 102 more hilarious dinosaur jokes for kids. He'd done one that was 101 that was pretty successful, and he wanted to do another one. So I wrote those jokes and got jokes from other people and different stuff, and and then he asked me to do another one, and that's where the other book came in.
Can I hear a joke from the book? Can you give me a joke? Maybe your favorite joke? Oh, you're gonna grab the book. All right. So this.
Well, it's been a while since I've read it, so I don't want to misrepresent what I have in here. I don't know about my favorite joke. But let's see. What type of spell does a dinosaur witch cast?
What kind?
A Tyrannosaurus Rex.
There you go. My son would like that. Jack would like that very much. All right, so I'm going to get Jack that. What about the Abraham Lincoln dinosaur book, where Abraham Lincoln is he's a dinosaur he's a dinosaur what researcher?
It's Abraham Lincoln as a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Accidentally sent back in time with an adult Davy Crockett and his best friend, Abe's best friend, and they have to survive the dinosaur age. So they're trying to figure out how to survive. So, Davy Crockett teaches them how to hunt and survive, and they have to fight off a few saber-toothed tigers and different animals. And
that sounds like a pretty cool idea. How did you get into writing in general? Have you always wanted to write? Growing up, did you say, I want to be an author? I know you've had such an interesting career. You worked in this side of the business, both on camera and behind the scenes. You've done so much different stuff in your career, and I want you to walk us through that. But how did you get into writing?
I got into writing. It's, my mom says it like this. I never played with a toy the same way twice. I mean, I always had ideas, and I would get frustrated because the toy wouldn't do all the things I could see it doing in my head. So I think I was kind of a natural storyteller, and my imagination was kind of really dominant. So I kind of wanted to tell stories. And I started trying to write them when I was in junior high and high school, even younger than that. Heck, my friend and I in third grade used to write fanfic for the Littles books. You remember the books about the little people tales that used to live inside the walls of houses?
Yeah.
We wrote like our own Littles books. So that's kind of where I got started. And then, as I developed over time between going into screenwriting and TV writing, and I mean, when I was in high school, I wrote my own TV show and wrote like 13 episodes and, plotted out all the storylines and did the whole, So
Wow.
I kind of got into all this stuff. And then over time, I did various things and wound up coming back to fiction and prose.
How did you get into, you really wrote full scripts and storylines in high school?
Yep.
That's not easy.
Yeah, I'm not saying they were any good, but I did write. I did write them. Yeah. It's not easy, but I mean, I was dedicated to it. It's what I wanted to do.
So what happens with your career? So you get out of high school, then what? You go to college, and then you start working as a screenwriter.
I started working as a reporter and stuff for A&E and History Channel, and we did shows like the Civil War Journal and biography and things like that.
Biography.
And different episodes of those and interview. Yeah, we got to do the Hitchcock biography. It was cool because we got home movies that never been shared before, so we got to be the first people to see them outside the family. So that was pretty cool. So I would research stuff and help set up the interviews and all that kind of stuff, and help us. The way you script those shows is you do a lot of interviews and then you kind of piece them together to get the final piece. So I'd help work with that. And then out of that got in, I was already doing script writing, and I started to get some scripts, in development and things. But I never really sold a script. I ended up going into music and moving off in a different direction before that happened.
Into music? What did you do in music?
Well, I was a singer, in a gospel singer for a while, and then did churches. But I did a lot of songwriting, and I had a national single albums out and different things.
What I need is I need you to sing a little gospel music right now.
Oh my gosh!
Yes, I do. The audience needs that. I need some gospel music.
I'm trying to think of the lyrics. When I remember what the Lord has done, I'll never look back, never look back. When I remember what the Lord has done, I'll never go back again.
Very nice, very nice. Are you religious, or is this just, it's interesting because I know some people who are gospel singers who are religious. I know some people who are gospel singers who are just singers and found this as a good genre for them. Are you religious, or is it kind of a combination, or what?
No, believer. I'm a Christian,
Okay.
and it kind of informs a lot of things that I do. So yeah.
I was working in radio. I'll tell you a quick story. And the guy behind me did gospel all night through the morning. So I had a bunch of shows, and then I talked the station manager into giving me a show from I think it was 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Right? So a 2-hour show, and I start doing the show, and the guy behind me shows up on time. And really nice guy. We knew each other in passing even before that from the station. And the show was called Gospel All Night Through the Morning. So he would go till like 7 a.m. And this guy literally stopped showing up. I love how Skype just spit my word literally right back at me. That was awesome. It's like Adam's got some sound effect button back there. He's like, literally. Is that what I sound like? I sound like a squirrel.
Well, I was fiddling with my headphone jack too, so it may have accidentally unplugged during that.
So the guy stopped showing up like 3 weeks in a row. I'm spinning his CDs, like doing his job for him until he gets there at like 5 in the morning. And so one night I say, you know what, I'm not stopping my show. I do entertainment at the time, and I had people calling in, celebrities calling in from LA. And so I do all this stuff, and I'd have all these celebrities call in. And so I decided that if I didn't stop my show, that I would, this is really awful. I shouldn't even tell this story. This is not a flattering story to me. All right, well, I'll tell it anyway. Okay, so I decide that, listen, I've got, I don't remember who I had on. I think it was actually the guy who was in Moving Out, the show on Broadway. So this was not he was the star of Moving Out. It's Billy Joel's show. And I realized that I would take the show a little blue. I wanted, like, this guy wouldn't show up no matter what I said. And I was just being a loyal soldier, and I was playing his music, and so I'd go from my show, which I forget what it was called, I think Midnight Madness, I don't know, and then I'd go from that into it's gospel all night through the morning. I'm Michael, and I'd play. I didn't even know the music. I would take a CD and play it, and and then the next CD, I just randomly whatever I took.
So like every song is here's a great new song from so and so.
I'd like literally read the CD case, and I'd be like, all right, it is, I don't know. And I had no idea if it was going to be rock or, because I didn't know, first of all, when I started doing this, I had no idea that there was different genres of gospel music, right? So I didn't know there was rock gospel and all this stuff. And so I just thought it was like a chorus, right? Singing in a church. And and so the funny part is like when I put the first CD in and it's rock music, I'm like, oh, it's playing, the microphone's off, which is good. I'm like, oh, this must be the wrong thing. Uh-oh, I picked the wrong pile. So I go to the next thing, and I cue that up now, and I put it in the headphones, and it's rock again, and I'm like, oh. And then I get the next thing, and it's hip-hop. And I'm like, oh, man, this guy's going to kill me. Like, where are the CDs? And I'm like, shh. And now they're all, like, on the floor, right? He had them all organized perfectly. They're all, like, on the floor. And finally, I realize, I pick up a rock one, and I start reading it, and it's, like, gospel rock music, and I'm like, there's rock, gospel rock, gospel hip hop. Oh wow! So then the next song is like ending, and I'm like, okay, I rush, I get it all queued up and I play it. And the people loved it. And they'd call in and they'd start requesting songs. And I'm like, all these CDs are on the floor. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to look for that. We'll get to you in a minute. And so then like 3 weeks of this goes by. And this guy won't show up no matter what I say to him. And so I'm just really, really upset. And I'm like, all right, so I have the guy from Moving Out, I think. And I found out during my interview with him that he was sleeping with his castmate. And I got him to talk about this. And it's, getting towards the end of the show, and this guy's not here. So literally I decided I'm going to extend my show. I'm not going to end my show. I'm just going to keep doing my show. So I started asking him questions about sleeping with his castmate. And if, this is a regular thing and all this stuff. Well, the phone lines start lighting up and people are screaming and yelling at me and get this guy off and blah, 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 blah. And so the best part is that literally I pick up the phone and it's like, this is Nassau County Prison. Will you accept a collect call from? I'm like, no. And literally prisoners would listen all night and they were angry and they're like, I could hear them going, would you accept a collect call from? I'm going to kill you, brother. So anyway, like 5 minutes later, this guy comes flying and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like I wouldn't go to commercial. I'm just like, what am I doing? I'm doing a radio show. What are you doing? Hey, maybe you want to tell your people that you're late every night for the last 3 weeks and I'm covering for you. And if you want to be late, I'm going to keep doing my show. Like once in a while you get stuck in traffic, I'm happy to cover for you. But this all goes out on the air. Like it was awesome for me, awful for him, and it was really kind of a jerk move. So I'm embarrassed that I told you that story. But I did get a full education on gospel music, and otherwise I would have been like, wait, you're kind of rocking out there. But I like, you got a great voice, man. You play guitar too?
I play rhythm guitar. I'm a keyboardist and
Okay.
hand percussion, and mostly vocals and keyboards.
So do you still play? Do you have a band? Did you tour with the band?
I did for a period. I had a local band that would go around with me and do the gigs in various areas and stuff. And sometimes they'd travel with me, and I would set up bands in places like I did concerts in Brazil and Africa, and the band was local. I hired people there, and we rehearsed for a week and then did a show. So I mean, it all depended on what the situation was, how much they were paying, what they wanted to do.
So literally you're like in the middle of this great television screenwriting career and you're like, you know what? I want to be a musician. Gospel is my calling. And you just pack up and you become a rock star?
Really, what it was is I got the chance to do an album because my grandma left me some money and I'd always wanted to do one. So I worked with one of the top studio musicians in LA and he produced it for me. And it went well enough that I started to get invited to sing. And I was frustrated with Hollywood because at the time I'd been doing what I've been doing for a long period of time and I was kind of burned out. My screenplays weren't selling, and the people who did want them wanted to change them into things that I wasn't happy. Gratuitous sex scenes and a bunch of things, which, in their place, everything has its place. But,
Sure.
Forcing me just to, why don't you make her naked in that scene? It'll be more fun, and stuff that just was like unnecessary. I was just like, this is not what I want to write and put my name on. You can write it, but it's not going to be it's not my story. You need to put in more cuss words, things. I'm like, I'll write if it's natural to it, but if I don't feel like it's natural, I don't want to be forced to put it in there. So I was kind of feeling like I just needed to take a break and do something else, and the music was going. So I got the opportunity. I left. I went off and did music for a while.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's amazing to follow your dream, and then you traveled the world doing this. I like it. When did you get into writing then, books? And
well,
how
I
did
mean,
you make
what
the
happened is the music led me to the realization that there was need for musical training in Africa and Brazil and Mexico, and that people there, unless you knew somebody or were rich, you couldn't get training. So I started putting together, I founded a nonprofit and started doing leadership development training in worship arts all over the world and bringing in professional musicians and counselors and actors and different people to train these people in different kind of arts that they could then take and use in their churches. And my job was to contextualize it culturally for my staff so that they would not teach them how to be an American, but teach them skills and let them apply it in their own context and encourage them to do so.
How did you put that together?
I'm not at all ambitious. I don't,
No, it doesn't seem like it. But I mean, it does seem like it. It really does. It seems like you're very ambitious. This is very hard stuff to do, especially when you're talking about on a global level. I know people who have foundations that take years to set up, years to get going, and teams of people. It doesn't seem like you had teams of people.
I had a board of directors, a few people that I trusted that were professors of mine and different people, and a couple local pastors. And I basically
How do you get the pastors motivated? I mean, it's how do you get all these people motivated? Like, I know that if you go to pastors and they like the idea, they go, okay, this is great, but to get people motivated, especially people who, I don't want to say pastors aren't motivated people, but you take a room and you put 10 people in there, you're the motivated, ambitious guy. There might be one other person that's motivated, ambitious. The other 8 are literally, 3 of them are like, yeah, I'll ride with you. And then the rest of them are literally like, yeah, okay, I'm going to hang, maybe I'm not in. And so it doesn't matter if it's pastors or it's people you pick off the street or whatever it is, getting people to be as ambitious as you is very hard. So how do you get that to work?
You know, all I did was the same way I got this interview. I found some scandaled pictures of you and introduced you to my friend who's in the mob, and basically it was a done deal. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I love that story. Wait.
No.
So basically what you just said to our audience is that you did it the same way you did to get this interview, which you laid out as you found scandalous pictures of me, got the guy in the mob to talk to me, which I think all of this went over very well with the pastors and is very believable. So
there's nothing like fear to motivate people.
But
no,
I like the story.
I'm kidding.
Right, I know.
I kind of fell into it. I don't really know how. I don't have any pictures of Michael, and I'm not looking for any. I just want to make that clear for Michael's wife and his family. Just,
you have the great publicist Alexei, and that's how.
That's how. Yeah. But yeah, no, really, it's hard to explain, and it's been a while, but I know that I worked really hard and I had to read a lot and meet a lot of people. Really, you know, the secret to doing any of this kind of stuff that I've done in my life is networking. You have got to meet people. If you're a decent human being and not an a-hole, you're going to get an opportunity that will come. You never know when the opportunity will come up. Somebody will say, hey, so-and-so's good at this. Maybe we'll talk to him, and ideas come out. And if you're an idea man and creative like I am, then the sky's the limit. Somebody will decide they like it. They'll give you money. All kinds of things can happen, and you just have to work real hard, I think, and keep busy.
How do you network when you live in Kansas?
Well, I go to a lot of conventions. There's this thing called Facebook. This thing called Skype.
All right.
I mean, if you're not, you know what? People tell you if you're in the creative business, you should be on social media. And I know some people are introverts and they hate it, you know, and I grew up, I've kind of converted from introvert to a little bit more of an extrovert because of all the things I've had to do. I kind of had to for survival. But the reality of it is this: if you're not on social media, you're missing out on opportunities. You've got to learn how to be conversational with people, and that's where you're going to get the opportunities.
I would say I'm an extrovert. I hate social media. I cannot stand it. I do it for the show. I do it for BeTerrific. I don't like it. I don't want to be on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, but I never go on. I'm on LinkedIn. I can't navigate that. I'm a conversation guy. I want to walk into a room and have a conversation with 10 people.
Sure. And I mean, Twitter used to be more of that. Now it's a lot of people yelling at each other more often, I think. I mean, when Twitter first started out, I really built up a lot of close friendships and relationships with people just chatting over Twitter in these 140 character bits. And I think that I still use Facebook that way. I mean, I do deals all the time on Facebook chat or Skype or something.
Deals?
You know, yeah,
we're talking deals?
On it. It's a great way to be online and basically available to people when you have a home office.
That is really impressive. All right, we're going to find out a whole lot more. We're going to talk about the Hugo, and we're going to talk about your other books when we come back. We have to take another break. Sound good?
All right.
All right, that is Bryan Thomas Schmidt. He's an author extraordinaire and an editor. He's a Hugo nominee. We're going to talk about that when we come back. This is the Michael Artsis Show. We'll be back with a whole lot more of this fascinating story when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
Rode microphones are the official microphones of BeTerrific. Find out more at rodemic.com.
Welcome back to BeTerrific. This is the Michael Artsis Show. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us. You make BeTerrific special, and we've got a special guest today. We've got, the great Bryan Thomas Schmidt. We're literally talking about his books and literally everything else. There you go, Sean from the Extender. I've hit literally 3-4 times now, back to back, just for you. And
Michael is a very literal man, literally.
Bryan, we're having a lot of fun. We're talking a little bit about social networking on social media. In all seriousness, we've got to do more of it, but we have this Slack chat, and that's kind of social media, I guess. And oh, I forgot to pull my handkerchief up. Adam just told me that in my ear, so I should. He's like, where did your handkerchief go? I guess it fell down throughout the day. Thank you, Adam. But
you just literally lost all your style for the entire show.
I did. Now, how much more style do I have now? What are people going to do when they watch the first half back on replay? But anyway.
See, now you look sophisticated.
Thank you. That's the look I'm going for. But anyway, so we got the Slack chat going, and I told you you're welcome to join. We'd love to have you. And we want all the viewers to join it. So they just got to send an email to connect@BeTerrific.com, and we'll hook them up with a Slack chat invitation. It's the easiest way to chat right now. There's a lot of social media out there. We've got a Facebook page. And I like Facebook. I like the people at Facebook. I have an interesting story about Facebook from today, actually, at Streaming Media East. But I think that I'm not the biggest social media guy, and there are parts of it I really don't like. You and I kind of talked about that in the break. But I do want to get to Hugo. So you're a Hugo nominee. Talk about what that means for you and for your career. I know that collecting hardware, it can be just that, collecting, but on the other hand, I know that it means a lot because it's very prestigious, and it's something that honors the hard work that you do. People don't necessarily understand that.
It's somewhere between the People's Choice and the Oscar Awards for the science fiction community. That's what it is. So, I mean, it's like there's no higher. I mean, Hugo and Nebula are the two highest awards you can get. So it really is pretty awe-inspiring to be nominated. Frankly, I'm so young in my career, really, in actual science fiction. I only started doing this in 2009, that I can't believe not only books I have out, but that people actually think I'm good enough to be nominated. It's flattering, but I mean, for my career, I hope that I'll always be a Hugo-nominated editor, whether I win or not. And I hope that will certainly tell people that I do good work, or I'm certainly trying to do that.
Well, I think that winning an award like this, is even a nomination, is very validating for all the work and effort you put in. And I think that you're kind of, I understand what you're saying, but you're misguided in saying that, oh, you're too new at this. First of all, you've had a lot of great experiences. You've been a professional. You've been a writer for a long time. But it doesn't even have to do with that. It's about the quality of the work. It doesn't matter if you're a first-year writer, a 50th-year writer. It's about the quality of the work. And clearly, you're churning out that quality of work. And I got nominated for my first Emmy. Didn't win, but I got nominated for my first Emmy my second year as a journalist. And that was very exciting. But I didn't win, right? But I kept saying, like, oh, I'm too young, it's too early, whatever. It's a ridiculous comment. It's about the work. It's about the amount of work you put in and the quality of the work that you put out. And if you can put out a high quality of work, doesn't matter if you're in your first year and you're 20 or if you're in your last year and you're 90, it's just about the quality. So obviously you're putting out great quality, and I think it's a little bit vindicating.
It is vindicating. It's humbling, too. It's the kind of thing where, I mean, I'm nominated against one of my mentors, who's one of the legendary editors, Mike Resnick. I mean, so, it's kind of like, wow. What a thrill. I'm just happy to be nominated. I feel like I already won. I got nominated. That's huge. And you carry it with you in your bio for the rest of your career,
no,
too.
you don't. Come on, let's be honest.
If I get nominated again, I hope I get a chance to do that, and I hope I get a chance to win one. But truthfully, I'm glad that people respect my work.
But you want to win. Come on, let's be honest. You're an ambitious guy. That means you're a competitive guy. You like sports. You want to win. I know this is the political thing.
I would love to walk on that stage and win. Don't get me wrong.
How would you react? How would you react?
I have a lot of people that I would thank. I'd be very grateful. In this case, I'm nominated for a book that I co-edited with another nominee. So if I won and she didn't, I would thank her first off, because the whole reason I'm standing up there is just as much because of her as because of me. And it's luck of the draw if I get picked over her.
And right about now, they're like, da, da, da,
yeah, right.
da, they're playing you off. I mean, that's the thing.
The other thing that I would say is that I try to be a good citizen in what I'm doing in the community, and we have a very diverse community, and I think it's really important to pay attention to that and to look for opportunities to work with people who see the world differently, because it creates more interesting books and books with a broader appeal to the audience. And so I would encourage everybody to do that. That's something I really want to say to people.
I like that. I like that message a lot, and I think the only advice I would give you is shorten that whole thing up, because they will play you off. I know what happens here, and they don't give you the time. Then you feel pressured and you forget to thank somebody. So just get it all together and shorten it up and be ready for it.
I'm going to have a list so I can literally cover everybody.
I think that's literally the best thing you could do.
literally.
But I like your advice. I like where you're going, and I wish you the best with that. I wish that we could all vote on it. We could just rally behind you and have like some social media push.
Well, thanks. Well, I think, the packets are going out with the work. People actually get to read the work, and they'll be able to vote over the next couple months if they have a membership in the WorldCon. So people who even buy supporting memberships are allowed to vote. So it's a pretty cool thing, and pretty much anybody who's a fan that really wants to participate in that process can, which I think is great.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Absolutely like that a lot. So talk about, these other books that you've got. We talked about the children's books. All these are available on Kindle, on digital books, and of course in hard copies, even if they're soft cover books, right? Paperbacks. So listen to me. I don't even know the term. I sound like a stumbling fool. I don't even know the terminology. You've got Space Battles, Full Throttle #6. You've got all sorts of great books. I want to apologize. I have made it a policy that I don't have an author on unless I've read the book, and I've pretty much stuck to that my whole career. We set this up without enough time for me to read any of these, and I do apologize. I would like to read some of these books. They really sound fascinating. I did some research last night. Ray Gun Chronicles, Space Opera for a New Age. How do you, this cover of this book looks really amazing. How do you come up with the topics and everything?
Oh, he didn't read my books. He's literally a terrible person. I cannot believe. No, out of here. No, I'm kidding.
All right, well, that's all the time we have right now.
Topics for an anthology or topics for the picture?
No, the topics for how do you pick the topics for the picture? Sure, I guess why not? It's a cool picture.
Well, I don't. Actually, with a picture, I basically tell the artist a couple ideas I have and what the stories are about and let them do their thing. I'm kind of one of those people. I grew up a John Denver fan, and I learned from him because I learned the hard way by screwing this up first, that when you have good people who work with you who have talent, you give them the minimum amount of direction they need and then let them do what they do, and you only jump in when you need to, and they will do anything for you. If you try to micromanage people, you're just going to piss them off, and frankly. So my attitude with artists has always been to kind of see what they come up with first, give them an idea of what needs to the book, but then let them run with it and then tweak it. So in this case, we wanted a female hero on the cover because we were doing Ray Gun Chronicles, and we were doing a story about space opera that had a classic feel, but we didn't want to do the classic heroine in distress, damsel in distress thing. So we wanted a strong woman character, and we wanted some kind of action scene. And what he came up with was just brilliant.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's a very appealing cover. I actually pick books by their cover. Seriously, I'm not kidding.
So do I.
I got into the Lee Child series, the Jack Reacher series from Lee Child, back when I was going on my honeymoon. My wife sent me to Borders, which I think no longer exists, unfortunately, and said, pick out some books. You got to read some books. And literally, there was a book without fail that had a guy who looked like a Secret Service agent on the cover, and it appealed to me with the earpiece in and everything. And it was super cool, and it made me read the back of the book. And then I read a couple of pages and said, all right, this one. And I finished it before I left, which was really interesting. I also bought the book about the 1986 Mets and finished that before I left. So I was in the airport buying new books. Shattered Shields is one of your books. Talk about how you came up with the story for that.
Shattered Shields is the book that got us on the Hugo ballot. Jennifer Brozak is my co-editor. It's a military fantasy. The idea was there's a lot of military science fiction is a big subgenre. Fantasy is a big genre, but there's not a separate genre of military fantasy, and yet soldiers play a huge part in fantasy. So we thought, let's do an anthology of fantasy stories with a military theme, all about soldiers or different people, the monsters, whoever, that are all fighting wars or revolving around that. And so that was the idea for the anthology, and Jennifer came up with the title Shattered Shields from a speech made by Aragorn in Lord of the Rings, in the movies. It's not in the book. I'm looking it up for you so I can quote it for you. It's basically, a day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship, but it is not this day. An hour of wolves and shattered shields, when the age of men come crashing down. That is Aragorn at the Black Gate.
That's amazing. That sounds really fascinating. It almost sounds, I swear to you, it almost sounds a little like Civil War meets Shakespeare meets the future. Like, I'm serious. I'm not kidding. Is that...
Well, you can. That's the beauty of anthologies. If you give people a broad enough concept, we have a World War II story in here, and then we have epic stories, and we have, some kind of more modern,
How long
stories, all mixed in.
how long are these stories?
Oh, I think the longest one is like 7,000 to 8,000 words. The shortest one is probably 4,000 words.
So 8,000 words. What's that? 20 pages?
Roughly. Yeah. There's about 300 words per page in the average book, something like that.
Okay, so that's roughly it. And what about what is your favorite thing to write?
For me personally, I really like writing space opera and epic fantasy, but I really like writing dialogue with banter. You can't tell I enjoy banter, can you?
No, not at all. In fact, I was wondering if you'd speak up a little bit more because the thing is you're kind of a little dull. You don't speak enough, and it's really like pulling teeth here. So if you could banter a little bit more, that would be great. Thank you.
I will literally do my best.
Literally, I think that would be awesome. What about what about as far as writing these books? How many do you have to turn out? Do you have to do one a year, two a year, and is that hard?
Well, it depends. I mean, like I just got told today that we sold another anthology, which I can't give details on yet, but that means I have 7 under contract in the next 3 years. So I'm going to be having 4 of these, and then if you add novels to that, it adds up. So I mean, it takes me.
It's kind of like a full-time job.
Yeah, it is, and that's why for 2 years, there's 2 years before a book comes out that I work on it for a year, and then it's in production for a year.
Right.
So there's a long cycle there, and then in the meantime, I do my writing and other stuff too. And
how do you work? Do you sit down? Like, obviously, you take time out to. Congratulations, first of all, on selling that new anthology.
Thank you.
Do you sit down in the morning? Like, you take time out to do an interview with us, but what are you going to do after this? How does your day work? You wake up, you have a cup of coffee, you read the paper, you get right to work. You work for a couple hours, maybe 8 hours even straight. You forget lunch. I mean, I know some writers, they just sit there, smoke, and write.
Well, if you want to,
What you got keys? What are you, a janitor over there? You got a couple of doors you got to open? I keep hearing these keys jingle.
Oh no, that's the dog with his jingles on his collar. He's running over here to say hi to me. So
what kind of dog? It sounded like you were getting up and or moving your legs or something. You had the keys on the waistband. What kind of dog? We love dogs.
Oh, here, I'll show you. Louis, come up here a minute. You want to be a guest? Here's
Yes.
Louis.
Hi, Louis.
He's a Yorkie poo.
Louis is very cute. Has Louis been written into any stories?
Louis is in one of the dinosaur jokes, in fact.
Really? What's his dinosaur joke?
I'd have to look it up. I don't remember. But what happens if a Tyrannosaurus Rex eats a Yorkie poo named Louis, and there's I don't remember the dinosaur. I don't remember what the joke is, but it's basically that kind of context.
There you go.
Now you'll have an inside joke because nobody knows who Louis is when they read the book. Now you'll know.
Exactly. Now our viewers know. So how do you write? What's the process?
I mean, if you're gonna work at home like I do, you have to. I have an office in my house.
Yeah.
I literally get up out of bed and go across the hall into my office. I have it set up. You see the bookshelves behind me.
Yep.
I'm surrounded by, behind me there are writing materials back here, all the writing books that I need, dictionaries, reference books, books for copy editing, and all that stuff. Even a couple Word for Dummies and things that every once in a while you have to pull out, even if you think you're smart.
Do you listen to music when you write, or you need complete silence? What goes on?
If I listen to music, it's either foreign music or soundtrack music, because if it's something that I enjoy, I'll sing along and get distracted, and I won't be able to do what I'm doing. So, I mean, I can't do vocal music very often. But like I have a lot of foreign music where I don't know what they're saying, but I enjoy the tune, so I'll listen to that and put that on. And I write a lot to the Raiders of the Lost Ark theme. I have to admit, it's kind of fun for when you're doing adventure stories.
Sure.
And the Lord of the Rings soundtracks. So basically, what I do is I check my social media and my email in the morning and do all that kind of stuff for about 30 minutes to an hour. And then I get up and I put in some writing time or editing time for 2 or 3 hours, get a good base in, then take a lunch break, go walk the dogs, do something, come back after a power nap, and then do 3-4 more hours. Usually my editing in the afternoon, my writing in the morning. And I keep a pretty regular disciplined schedule, at least 5 to 6 days a week, and take 1 day a week off if I really need it. And that way, I treat it like a job.
What do you mean if you really need it? Do you take vacation? Do you take time off? Of course you need 7 days a week. You get burned out. I know firsthand.
Well, I'm getting burned out now because I have so many projects going on. When I didn't have near as many going on, I didn't tend to get burned out near as quick. But now I have so many freaking things going on at one time that I'm juggling that literally I need time to just sit down and decompress because my brain is rolling around through all these projects all the time.
What do you do to decompress? What do you do for fun?
Oh, well, everything from playing games with friends online. I have regular Scrabble tournaments going on to.
You cannot get away from this writing. You're not like, you're playing Scrabble and Words for Friends instead of playing like NHL 2015 or
oh no, I have
or Halo.
I have some games like that I like to play too, and Farm Hero Saga and different fun stuff that I play. But I really I spend a lot of time reading. I will spend a lot of time hanging out with my dogs, looking at the stars, go hang out with friends.
Nice. This sounds good.
I force you, if you work at home, you have to force yourself to go out and socialize because it's really easy to just spend your whole life in a box. So that's important too.
Absolutely. It sounds like a lot of fun. What about the research you do? How much research do you do, especially when you're writing like fantasy and science fiction? There's only so much you can research anyway, right?
Well, it depends on what I need. If I'm writing a certain time period or a certain thing, I'll research it in advance as much as I can and make notes, and I'll get at least a basis so I can start writing, and then I'll research what I need as it comes up. And sometimes I leave myself a note, reach XYZ, and get a description, and then just keep writing so I don't break up the pace, because I think it's really it depends on what you're doing. If you're doing historical, you got to do more research, obviously, than if you're kind of making it up in your head.
Favorite John Denver song?
Oh boy, there's a lot of those, but I'm gonna say Rhymes and Reasons is one of my favorites.
Are you into tech? Are you into gadgets? I mean, you're at home alone all the time. I would think you'd be into gadgets and tech. On the other hand, it seems like all you do is write, so maybe you wouldn't be.
You know what my number one requirement from when they built this house for me was? That I needed 4-prong plugs in every single room. I had to have outlets with 4 plug-ins because that's how many gadgets I have. I have boxes and boxes of gadgets I haven't even unpacked yet. So yeah, I have at least 5 laptops in various states around the house, among other things.
Wow.
So yeah, I love myself some gadgets.
Well, we got to talk about that next time. You got to be a guest regularly. We want to know what's going on. You got to come on to promote the books and talk about them. I promise next time I'll have read some of them too. How's that sound?
Okay, I will literally love to come back.
You are literally a lot of fun, and I literally appreciate you coming on. So literally, from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
I hope everybody
and I
checks
hope everybody's not drunk yet.
I hope everybody checks out your work. By the way, can people buy the music too?
Somewhere online there's CDs by Bryan Thomas that might still be available. I am not the black Bryan Thomas, obviously. Nobody would confuse me for him, but just FYI, there's another guy out there that's more famous who's Bryan Thomas. But one of my CDs is available on Amazon, a CD called Stand, I know. The rest of them, you pretty much have to get through me because they're not out in the market right now.
How do people get them through you?
Go to my website, go to my contact, BryanThomasSchmidt.net.
BryanThomasSchmidt.net, and everybody can go check it out and reach out to Bryan.
Reach out to my contact form if you really want to check it out.
Literally, you can go do that, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Check him out on Amazon, too. Bryan Thomas Schmidt, great author. I'm going to get that book for Jack for sure, so it's going to be awesome. Well, that's Bryan. I'm Michael Artsis. We have a lot more to get to. We don't really have time, but we got to talk about the Apple Watch because you guys have been asking me about it, and I told you last week a little bit about it, but I played with it. I went to the Apple Store and played with it, and I want to give you my thoughts. So we'll do that tomorrow. We'll talk about Streaming Media East tomorrow. We've got possibly Gene Fugit joining us again tomorrow, and we'll talk a little Rangers as well. In addition to that, we have to talk about some other stuff tomorrow, a little bit more tech, and I guess that's it for today, right, Adam? Is that it?
Yep.
Adam says that's it for today. I want to thank Bryan Thomas Schmidt for coming on, and Alexei from Rabid Fan. What is it called?
Rabid Fanboy.
You're still here. Wow. I thought you were gone. It's Rabid Fanboy, and that's rabidfanboy.com. He's a great publicist, and I want to thank him for setting this up. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching. You make Be Terrific special. Be terrific.